love being there for bestie, and I can say my bestie, I can say is the truest person I've ever trusted. I'm telling you, it's real. It is real. Let me see if I fix the problem. Um, Before I met my bestie, there you go. Before I met my bestie, I thought that I had a best friend, and I thought that I had. Um, First of all, I used to call everybody my friend. That's how I know to tell people now stop calling everybody your friend. That's a trusted place that only a set people can be a part of. And um, when I finally realized that I was only good for what I could give and not good enough to hang around to see what's next, it hurt my feelings. Bless you, woman of God. Now I know who you are. Um, it was an awesome time we had in service last weekend. Um, how, 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 how? That wasn't easy for me to find out that people could trust me more than I could trust them. And so that's why I still attached it to our conversation about the heart, because as I said previously, the heart is the core, the heart is the center, the heart is that base. It is what is sending out the circulatory system's needs so that we could continue to function. Yay. There you go. It's I know y'all weren't there for the voting, but I have been voted by my cousins, who I love dearly, as everybody's favorite, and I hope to hold up to this title, and I love it tremendously. Huh? You got to school. You got to give me some more info on that. I have no idea what you're referring to. Uh, um, but congratulations, and you are a very loving cousin to most of us. So congratulations. So yeah, do you even know me? Like I said, Jesus had to take a poll in the midst of his disciples, and only one was able to say who he was. What does that say? That says that you can have people following you around everywhere you go, taking part in almost everything you do. And then still, when I come back to you and say, if you had to describe me, what would you say to others? They wouldn't know what to say. They wouldn't know what to say. And that could be kind of, not kind of, but it could be hurtful. Not kind of. It can be hurtful to come to that realization that what you're investing yourself into has no interest in you. You investing, you promoting, you pushing, you bringing things toward them, you bringing um, popular situations or um, ideas to push your thought and your vision further along. And when it's all said and done and you're finished giving, and you're there waiting for the return favor, um, you just some cry, some holler, some shut down and cut off everybody, just for a set of a few, because it just devastated them that much that, excuse me, they were willing to put their all into somebody else who wouldn't even think about them. Just wasn't. Just wasn't. Oh, okay. I got my Loving in Me I See page back up. Tika, go on Loving in Me I See page. I want to see if I can see your statement. Tika said that's a hurtful thing for people to be around you for a long time and not be able to know who you are or discern the kind of heart you have. Amen. Amen. You know, it is very hurtful. You know, when I met my bestie when she was just pastor, you know, and we were just meeting each other, and it felt like we had known each other for years. But as we began to build and establish this friendship that we have, we both had to say, you know, that person ain't for you, right? You know, and it wasn't something you said, yeah, I know. No, it was like, what you talking about? Why would you say that? You know, I see you as I see your question. Can you see my comment? But I don't see the statement that you put on the other page. Per, yes. What's the matter? You went down more than that. Okay. So yeah. So just to, you know, I try not to. I used to use my kids for everything. They was like, "Mom, why you always put us on blast?" Because I can, because I'm your mother. Nobody can say nothing about it. But um, there were times when I had to say to my children, like, why are you doing XYZ for so and so? Have you taken the time to look at how they handle you? Have you taken the time to look at if they've ever promoted you in the presence of others? Um, do you have to be around in order for them to talk about you in a positive light? Um, or do you find yourself in the midst of those who say that you're a part of their heart, but it's only when you're in their presence? In my church, Women Grow Mess, I find that people are just finding out who I am, and I feel like I was never able to express who I am as Sister Thompson before now. I love being seen now. It's a wonderful thing. I'm still waiting to find out where you going to church at. Surely I was promoting go, 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 go. But I'm so glad that you found somewhere where you can be comfortable and known for who you are, you know, not for just what you can do or what you bring to the table, but just because of who you are without people looking and trying. Nobody has to dig through the sand to see if they could find something. If somebody really knew who you were, they would know all along that you were a loving person who's just, you don't have no tolerance for nonsense. And, you know, I'm going to say what it is. I'm not going to cut corners. This is who I am. And the heart is what allows us to either accept or reject, because it is that core. Whatever you send in to yourself, before it goes back out, it has to go through the streams of the heart, the aorta and the veins, the arteries. It has to go through the circulatory system and make sure that it's circulating in the right way. For me, I have problems with that. I swell. Um, and so I look at, you know, other people might not agree, but I look at myself with things that I'm going through, and you know, I apply real life circumstances. Like even now with me saying, you know, I'm having problems with my circulatory system, and I'm swelling, and I see that as also I could say that I did not realize how much I had allowed to enter into my system until I found out that I couldn't push it back out. I didn't understand, or I did not realize that um, I was the receptacle of so much stuff that it started to clog my arteries and my veins. You know, I can find analogies. I can find parables to go along with just about anything because I believe that it helps people better understand where you are. Jesus taught in parables as well. He gave the word, but he still broke it down in parables that others might understand and even be able to see where they might find themselves. And so I love parables because everybody doesn't know how to read and understand thee, thou, though, and may, some people just need somebody to talk to them like they are somebody, or like they, I tell my niece sometimes who has to help me with things, IT wise, you know, explain it to me like a kindergartner. Take Break it down so much so that there's no room for me to make a mistake, and that's what we try to do in the lives of those that we touch. We want to make sure that we still hold a healthy boundary where they don't get so common and so close that they don't respect the women of God that we are. But we want them to know that they're not in this alone and they're not the only one that went through this, and that just because we are women of God doesn't mean that we don't bleed and that we don't hurt and that we don't go through some of the same things. And our heart hurts like you, it breaks just like yours. It might not break as soon or as easily because God has chosen, and so he strengthens what he is. This every who he was. Oh my gosh, that bothered me. um and so when we're talking about the heart, do you even know me? Like, what do I like? What don't I like? What kind of people do I like to be around? What kind of music do I enjoy? What are some of the hobbies? Just like the simple common things that somebody would ask one to the other. Um, but the biggest thing for me was, like I said, with my bestie, it was we found that it was being equally distributed. You know, it wasn't all on one side and none on the other. We tried to make sure, we still try to make sure that even when things are going on, even if something negative, because we might have a difference of opinion, but we, thank God for growth, are able to talk about it and make each other see where we're coming from and why we feel that way, and we fix it as one, and we make sure that it's not something that we touch again. And so when you know somebody's heart, you will know when what they're saying to you is for your good versus trying to belittle you, humiliate you, demean you. There are different things that people try to dress up, um, but there really is a negative connotation behind it. And so the heart, for some, it is very easily broken. Some of us, as we've been told, stop wearing your feelings on your fingertips. For some people, they don't realize that that's what they're doing because they've had to do it for so long, because they've always been in defense mode. Because they put that trust out there, but then when they went to go and ask for it or expect it, they were just left for dry. And so the heart takes that in. It's not something like everything might be forgiven but not forgotten. There's a movie that my bestie and I watched a couple of months ago, and the title of the movie was God Forgives You But Not Me. God forgives you but not me. And if some of us would tell the truth, we've said that we've forgiven somebody that we really don't. And that's only because we know that people are expecting it from us, and they let us know. I tell people in a minute, if you have unforgiveness in your heart, you're going to hell. There's no question about it. Read your word. There are two or three things that are it. Loving your neighbor like you love yourself. Forgiveness, forgiving that man 70 times. I'm telling you, it is not easy, but it is necessary. And some people say, forgive and forget. I don't know how many people actually do forget. I do know that there are people that even though they remember, they don't allow it to affect their decisions now. It's just that they have that in their Memorex. They have it in there so they don't find themselves there again. And for me, I don't know about if my bestie would feel the same way, but for me, in my earlier years, um, I was under the impression like you got to forgive them and you got to give them that chance to be right back with. And I've learned that I can forgive you without allowing you to be back in that space of my heart. I respect you. I can still say I love you and be telling the truth. But what we won't do is break bread or go out. You're not coming to my dining room table, But I'm able to hug you and say I love you and mean it. But I remember where we were, and I don't want to ever go there again. Really? I didn't even know they were still together. Oh my God. From Aunt Mary's time. That is awesome. Um, and so just being able to have somebody be able to see and hear your heart is a wonderful thing. Um, right. You don't want to revisit. And so, you're careful about how much you allow yourself to get back there. Like I can speak to you. How you doing? We going on church functions and we cool. But seeing us together, just alone doing fun things and stuff like that, I'm not even willing to put my heart that far back out there. But I do tell people all the time, especially relationship wise, you want to love again, you got to put your heart back out there and be willing for it to be hurt. Because if you never put your heart back out there, how's love gonna come? You've got to have some place for the love to come. So we have to know how to guard our hearts, not block them in, but guard our hearts from all unhealthy conversation or unhealthy deeds. And when we get to that place, we just won't do anything that's going to risk sending us backwards. It took too long for us to get where we are to allow one simple thing to send us 15 steps backwards and then say, but I told you. No, because if I told you, you never forgave. If you tell somebody that you forgive them, the last thing they want to hear you say, but I told you, and this is no, we don't want to be there. We want our hearts to continue to grow positively. And so we have to learn how, especially those of us that are in the church, because all of us are not, but for those of us that are in the church, we've got to be able to see people through God's eyes. We have to be able to communicate to people through God's heart, because we are created in his image and in his likeness. So therefore, our responses, and hear me good, our responses, we shouldn't be reacting. We should be responding. Reacting is something that just comes from the gut. You didn't take time to think about what you was doing. It was the first thing came and it just came right on out. And he would, I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. It came out. It's been waiting for that opportunity. But what you want to do is to be able to address it from a different point of view. I don't need you to remind me of what I did to you. I do that bad enough by myself. I need you to, blessings, Pastor. I need you to be able to walk this thing out. The Bible gives us clear instructions on the things that we need to do when we feel like we have aught. So when people have hurt us, first of all, I'll give y'all some of my very first pieces of advice in our very beginning days, some 4 years ago, about people and things that have hurt you. Write it out and get it up out of you. Write it out and get it up out of you so that your heart has room for what's next. So your heart has room for what's next. What would happen if Jesus had not continued on to the cross with everything that was being said and done to and about him? Things that weren't truth, where he had folks blessing him one day and saying, crucify him the next. And yet he still continued on because the love that he had in his heart for God's people. His job was to do something that would redeem us unto the Father. And so he continued on no matter what. So how be it that we feel like that's not something we have to do? We have to be able to see people through God's eyes and through his heart. It's not easy. So I would not tell you that. It is not easy, especially when people do and say things because they know that that is your standpoint and that's how you deal with people. And so I had to learn that I didn't have to be somebody's doormat in order to prove to you that I love Jesus and he loves me. And so the heart, the heart. I'm telling you, there's nothing really that we can truly talk about and discuss without having the heart involved. Either you've been disappointed or betrayed or um, disappointed, betrayed, hurt, abandoned, all of it. Hey, Sister Tori, all of it still affects that heart. Why? Because the heart is the core, it is the center, it is where everything springs up and out and moves throughout your body. That heart stop, ain't nothing flowing. And so we want to take inventory of our circle. You know, I'm not telling you you have to dismiss everybody. I said take inventory. And I'm telling you, if you truly ask God to show you, you will find out that there are more people in that circle that really don't have your heart and don't know who you are. They're along for the ride. They're doing what everybody else is doing. They want to be a part because they feel like they like you and they just want to be with some people who are loving on you. And then you have those who truly, truly, truly know who you are, and would be able to uh, properly describe you and promote you to anyone. Um, Anybody who has to say, well, they let me see, like, no, we ain't gotta go through all of that when you know about no, not when you know my heart. You don't have to take that long to figure out what to say. You know, now it'd be different if you say, you know what, there's so many ways. I don't know which way to start. Sometimes that's the truth, sometimes that's just you buying time. But the fact of the matter is, the heart is what's going to be affected by whatever is said, whether it be positive or negative. If it's positive, your heart's going to be overjoyed and you'll have happiness and you will try to explain or express that to the one who gave you that feeling, that time of excitement or emotion. And if it hurts you, then you know it might take a minute for you. Why? Because you're taken back by the fact that it actually happened, that it was who it was that made it hurt the more. And now you're trying to decide whether you want to take that chance with anybody else. And so the rest of us should not be blamed for what someone else did. But at the same time, uh, you have a right to your reservation and your hesitation, because you just need to know. Because you, some of us say, I couldn't handle that blow again. Not everybody has the same amount of strength. God made us unique and different for whatever the reason. Some are weaker than others, some are stronger than others, some are more thoughtful, some are more easily swayed. Others are hypocritical, have no allegiance or loyalty to anybody because they never felt like they had it coming up. And so now, why should I render it to anybody? I had to struggle and fight for everything I have right now. And you know, I was always the loyal one. No, nobody returned that to me, and it's a real place, and it hurts. Again, what does it hurt? Your heart. We can't get away from the heart because it's the core. It's the main. It's the center. You know, as defined by Merriam-Webster, it is the core. It is the place where everything else flows from. You know, your heart and your brain are talking, y'all. And so, what we want to do is make sure that those people that are around us really know our hearts, really know our hearts, and are not just hanging around to be a part of the in crowd. I've never been a part of the in crowd, at least I didn't think I was. Um, there was, well, one time in the church, there was a set people that, it was like three people that I just always wanted to be around. And they were in college and I was in high school. Hey, Ma, I was in high school and I just looked up to them because I saw what they stood for. I saw how they related, you know, to people or whatever. And um, then they was like, well, if you want to be around us, you're going to have to get saved. Now, see, I understood that and I didn't, because it says, how can two walk together except they agree? That's not just for wedding vows, that's realistic. Um, but it made me feel like they gave me an ultimatum, and that hurt because of the love that I had in the place that I allowed them um, to have in my heart. So that devastated me, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Um, but in a long story short, I did end up getting it together and was able to, go out with them and travel with them to different churches and stuff, because back then all I knew was church. My mother didn't really let us do anything. But once I turned the good 18, Lord Jesus. But, the heart, it goes through a lot to help us get through the day. Just to get through the day, it goes through a lot because it deals with our work situations, our home situations, our family situations. Our heart has to handle all of that, all of those various emotions from um, blessings, all of that. We got to deal with everything. That heart is getting everything just thrown at it from left to right, up and down. You just being thrown in different types of winds because different things affect the heart differently, and different people affect your heart differently. And so, while it may disappoint you with one person, it might devastate you with the other, but depending on the relationship that you have with them, or have you taken an uh, inventory as to whether the people you look up to know that you even looking up to them. You have this ongoing respect for someone who really doesn't even see you. That hurts. It's a real place, and it hurts. And when you hurt, it affects your heart, and it causes the next few things that you're going to do. Prayerfully, you're going to respond and not react. We don't have time to react in these hours. We don't want to do something temporarily stupid that's going to cause permanent damage. So we want to recognize um, the difference between reacting and responding to something. Response takes a little longer than reacting. It takes a little more thought, you know, being intentional about what you do and say, knowing that at the end of the day, when it comes time for real accountability, he's not going to ask you about the other person. He's going to ask you about you, how you handled that situation, how you didn't handle that situation, why you refused to deal with that situation. But it all comes back to how did you. He's not going to worry about anybody else when it's your time at the gate. And I try to keep that in mind. It keeps me, a little centered in what I say and do, you know, and with whom I say and do. So the heart, it's it's kind of hard to get away from the fact that um, the heart is just it's vital. It's vital. You only have a certain amount of time to, if somebody was getting a transplant, you only have a certain window of time where you can use a heart to put into somebody else. Between transport, uh, getting it to the place where it's going, then implant, preparing the patient. Like it's just so much, and you got to work in a set amount of time in order for that heart to stand a chance at helping somebody else live. So the heart is important. I said all of that to say the heart is important. It really is. And my heart has been broken before. My heart, I felt, had been stepped on before. Um, yeah, I could use another adjective, but I'll leave those. But if I would have allowed that to stay there, I wouldn't be able to talk to you about it tonight. I really, well, we, my bestie and I, normally do not suggest something we haven't had to experience. It's the only way we can give you more definitive answers is because we've been through it. And if we haven't, guess what we normally say? Well, I've never been through that before, but I can point you in a direction of somebody who can. It doesn't take away from me. It doesn't make me any less of a person. It actually makes me a better person by trying to send you to somebody I know can help you than have you sit around and deal with me in this particular subject. And yeah, I'm just not as knowing. Kaisha says, I'm just now getting to the point of not reacting to things, but to take time to see if and where I play a part and go from there. It will change your response most times. It also keeps you from being as hurt. Exactly. Exactly. Getting used to responding and not reacting. And everybody, I say that too when I'm counseling or when I'm advising them or when I hear their situation and I say, leave it alone. Don't say nothing right now. Especially if it's a lie. Outlive it. We don't got time to defend lies. And so, they be like, apostle or ma, or yeah, yeah, come on back. And what you have to look at is who you are and what you stand for, who you represent. You don't have a day off from that. Representing, you don't have a day off from that. No matter where you are in life, whatever you're saying and doing is a direct representation of where you came from, who raised you, what you found out. There's so many factors that go into how you react versus respond. And I want to say to you, please, please, if that's you, slow down with the reacting. Like I said, don't do something temporarily stupid that can cause permanent damage. Be careful in your thoughts. Be careful in your actions. Be careful how you respond to people. Be careful how you treat people. You use it whenever it's, convenient. Do unto others as you had them do unto you. But what if we went a month or two back in your life? What would you have to say if that's what we said at that particular time? So we have to be careful how close we come to judging people because it's not our turn to judge yet. The time is coming. The time is coming. And so, I just want to say to you guys as I depart, um, the heart, so precious, so precious. I hope that we said something that made sense to you today. Um, tell somebody to go back and view the live. Tanasia says, I had a moment this week where I reacted instead of responding. Did you fix it? As long as you fixed it, you move forward, but you have to have fixed it properly and according to the word because you are God's servant. Um, and so um, it's good that you can say, you know, I had a moment. Because some people turn a moment into a mountain. Prophet Tiquan told us, I'll give you a moment, but we're not going to make it into a mountain. Geishua said, I never understood that until now. Defending a lie makes you look guilty. But if you know it's not the truth, stay quiet. It speaks much louder. Doesn't feel like it in the moment, but in the long run, it sure pays off. Real talk. And I'll keep on saying that. Guarding my heart by any means. Amen. Amen. And amen. I love you guys. I'm getting ready to sign off. Even though my bestie's not on with me tonight, I still want to be obedient to my health care person who's looking out for my best interest. We're going to try to take it down. We're going to try to take it down. But we thank you, all of the leaders who came on tonight. Thank you. Thank you for your participation. To all of you that came in on Loving the Me I See page once I got it back up. Thank you. Always glad to hear your responses and your comments. I keep inviting y'all to come on as a live guest. Come on as a live guest and talk to the people. Let them hear you. We are transparent people here without any condemnation. We just want everybody to be blessed, to be heard, to be loved, and have the opportunity to be explained. We are empathetic when needed, sympathetic when needed, but we are no tolerance when needed as well. We try not to shove Jesus down your throat, but we are apostles, and it's kind of hard to guarantee you that we're not going to bring Jesus up in this conversation. But we really want you to know that we are uh, balanced. And so we don't have to just talk Jesus to you. We can talk real life because we've experienced some things and God has given us the advantage of wisdom in certain areas. And so we just want to share, you know. So you guys have a blessed remainder of the week. This was what some call hump day. For me, hump day ain't happened yet. But I pray that God blesses you throughout the rest of this week and the weekend. Be careful. The temperatures are crazy all over the place. We got storms, we got uh, tsunamis, we got a lot of things going on, you know. Um, in Plainfield, where they were talking about where the tornado, and they're saying they could see it, where it was picking up the place. It was just, I'm grateful that we have been spared yet again, and we are praying for those who are connected to us that have experienced the traumas of this crazy weather in the last week and a half. But we trust. And why don't you pray for somebody who really, Tennessee? Yay. We will. We will. Um, be careful, be mindful, be alert, pay attention to your surroundings. There's so many things happening right now. But from my heart to yours, until next week, we ask that you be blessed and love your neighbor as you love yourself.